Hey everybody, welcome to Challenged Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt. Our next guest, 2016 Paralympian, Mr. Trenten Merrill. Trenton, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, Bob.
So take me back. You, as a youngster, you played pretty much every sport out there.
Yeah, I tried everything that my parents encouraged me to try, and then anything I was interested for sure.
So back in '05, you're 14 years old. Talk a little bit about what happened. You're what, on the back of a little motorbike with your buddy?
Yeah, so spring break in 2015, I was a freshman in high school, and my best friend Scott and I, we were riding motocross a lot during that time, and we had also little pit bikes, and we had built a little course in his front yard where we'd ride all day if we could. But this one day we were riding on the same bike back from my house to his house, and before we got to his gate to enter, we were about to cross the street. And we looked both ways, and we thought it was clear. And as we started crossing the street, we didn't see this car coming. This car was coming, and we didn't see her because the center median bushes were too tall. So her car went straight underneath it, and she didn't see us. And as we were coming, just boom, perfect timing, just ended up crushing my foot and hurting my friend really badly as well. And that was the new start to my life as an amputee.
So, and you guys, when meeting with the doctors, was there thought, hey, let's try to save this leg for as long as we can?
Yes. So they tried to save it for about a month and a half, and then I wasn't getting any circulation to my toes. So my toes started turning black, and the doctor finally came and said, listen, we've got to amputate this thing before the rest of your foot starts turning black and going up your leg.
What did you know about Paralympic sports, about challenged athletes at that point? When was your first exposure to what your new life was going to be?
So my first exposure was actually in the hospital. A Marine had came in and he had spoken to me, and that was really reassuring for me because I wasn't sure what life was going to be like as an amputee. I wasn't sure what I was able to do and what I wasn't going to be able to do. And so he reassured me some of the insecurities that were coming through my mind, like, for instance, even dating girls. And
Yep.
one of the things that was awesome was he actually brought his girlfriend in there. And when I asked him that question, he was like, this is my girlfriend. I was like, she's pretty good looking. So that was one of the reassuring things that I personally asked. And so that was my first exposure. And then I asked him about like riding dirt bikes again, about playing soccer and all these things and running. And he said that he still ran on the beach with his squad. And so for me, I was like, okay, like, I'm not sure what I can't do yet, but he had still ridden motorcycles as well. So I was starting to gain like affirmation that there's a lot of things that I can still do. But as far as Paralympics go, I was not introduced into I didn't know about Paralympics at all until 2019, I believe. No, I'm sorry, not 2019, 2009.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So 2009. So then when you get invited to a amputee running clinic, and talk a little bit about that, because you really weren't interested in going at first.
That's true. I wasn't interested in going, and I was talking to my prosthetist. He was working on my leg, and he was encouraging me to go to this running clinic. And I told him that I didn't want to go because I already knew how to run. And he was very persistent. He's like, no, come on, like, I'll give you a shirt, like, just go, like, please go. And he kept asking me to go. And so finally he asked enough to where I was like, fine, I'll go for you. And so I ended up going, and it ended up changing my life because at that running clinic, it was a CAF clinic, and it was in Irvine. And there were some pretty special people there that I met, like Joe Joachim Cruz, who was the head U.S. Paralympic coach at the time. Then Brian Frazier was a Paralympian for the U.S. Paralympic team. And then Oscar Pistorius, who was the Paralympian for South Africa. So going there was the introduction for me into Paralympic track and field.
What appealed to you? Was it more the running? Were you thinking long jump? Or talk a little bit about the progression from figuring out what's going to be good for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I'm super competitive. So a lot of times it doesn't matter what the sport or event is. If you just get me in there and there's a challenge and there's other people that I'm competing against, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give it my all. So when I first became introduced to Paralympics, I believe it was like Brian Fraser who came in, asked me if I was interested or if I knew anything about it, and told me the possibilities of competing for a living and traveling around the world and getting paid to do it. And so for me, I was like, man, this was actually like a dream of mine. Like I wanted to be a professional athlete my whole life. And I thought that when I lost my foot, those dreams are gone. And so then like after a month of like just processing, mulling it over, I became open to it. And I ended up calling Coach Cruz back. He invited me down to the center. And when I stepped foot on there, I was like, whoa, I felt like God told me this is where I belong. And so then I was like, let's figure out what event. And so I was open to them all. I tried as many events as I could. And then I just ended up gravitating more towards sprinting and jumping.
And when you go to the nationals, right, the Olympic trials, did you have a sense that you possibly can make the team at that point for Rio?
For Rio, yes. But for my first Paralympic nationals, I wasn't sure like times or anything. But for Rio, I was very confident going in for long jump, but there was still the uncertainty because no matter what, I still had to perform that day. So there was nothing guaranteed. So I was definitely very nervous, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make it for sprinting or jumping. So I just gave it my all on both events, and then I ended up winning in long jump and hitting a standard as well. So I thus made the team.
What was the experience like when you go to the Worlds and in 2015 and get a silver? You're actually on the podium in the 4x100 relay.
Yeah, so that was crazy. So that year, that was my first year where I had gone into 2015 where I was on the national team and I was training solely as a sprinter. And I was progressing a lot that year. And at nationals, I actually ended up getting like 4th and 5th. And so I didn't think that I made the team. And then I kept training because I had made other international meets and I continued to perform better and better. And then a few guys dropped out due to injuries. And then thus I came in and ended up just kind of showing out and making the relay team. Then the 100 meters and 200 meters and making both finals. And so for me, I was like, I'm going to give it my all. Like, I know I'm against some really, really great athletes, but I've been training hard all year. And so to come away with a silver in the 4x1 was awesome. Like I was ecstatic. I got to lead our team off too. So I was really hyped up because I was like, all right, let's go. Like I'm freaking amped right now and I'm going to give it my all. And to be representing USA and starting off, I was just like arousal was through the roof. So it was amazing to come away with a silver. And I knew that like if you watch the race, we definitely could have won the race. And so regardless of, having a mistake in the race and still coming away with a silver, my first world championship team, I was for sure grateful and happy to come back home with the medal.
So then you go to the Paralympics in Rio. And I mean, really, you have not been in the sport that long, and now you're going to the Paralympics, and that experience of being in Olympic Village and just the whole psyche of the Paralympics. As a kid who wanted to be a world-class athlete, now you're on the biggest stage on the planet. Just talk a little bit about just what you went through during that time.
Man, that's what I went through. It was like an experience of gratefulness, like, and thankfulness. It was like you wake up every morning and I'm in Brazil. And so I'd walk out to my balcony and I'm just seeing these big like green hills and this like fog rolling through. And I was just so thankful to be there and so excited to compete. Like I had been training so hard and I was getting better and better and better. And I felt like, man, I don't have a limit right now. I don't have boundaries right now. Like I'm ready to go out there and jump further than I've ever jumped. So when I was there, I was just embracing and enjoying every day for what it was. And I was there for like a month almost. So I came there in the beginning because I wanted to acclimate and I wanted to prepare mentally before I competed. I didn't compete till like the very end. So when I was there, I got to take my time, get used to training, get used to the time zone, get used to people, and really prepare mentally for competition. So when I was there, it was like I don't know, man, it was like a dream.
So you get fourth, but I think you broke the American record.
I did. So when it came time to compete, I was like, all right, I'm in my zone. Like I remember like talking to myself beforehand, like, all right, when I get to the stadium, this is how I'm gonna feel. This is how I'm gonna think. And I would visualize it, like I would like smell the air. I would see the people in the stands. So when I got out there, I was like a hawk. I was zoned in. So I was just like in my zone. No one could throw me off, and I stayed there. And it might have been like my third jump where I ended up jumping into like third or fourth place, like something like that. And I didn't realize that I broke the American at the time, but I did realize that I hit a new personal best. So I was like, nice. Like I just jumped further than I've ever done. And I know that I'm still capable of more. And so I looked to my coach, Jeremy, who was subbing in for my other coach at the time. And he was giving me some cues. So I went back. I was just visualizing, went out there again. Boom, went like a little bit further and secured my place. And again, so just broke the American record again and just kept battling and ended up getting fourth overall. But I left like on a very, very high note because this was my debut in long jump, like just stepping on the field and to get out there to break the American record twice in one meet and then to for me, like making top four was huge because I'm like, I'm right there. Like I am so close to getting the medals. It's like when you go to Costco and you get a sample, you get a taste of it. You're like, oh, I want some more of that. So that's how I felt. I was like, this was success, like I had done the best I could. Like, yeah, I didn't get a medal and a lot of people would be bummed about that, but I did better than I've ever done before. Like I can't be down on myself. So it was an amazing experience, and it just like it was like pouring gasoline on the fire. And so I've been just hungry since.
My favorite thing is I think it was like 09 or something like that, your first race, the first time you're gonna do a race, and you go to the start line and they're like, dude, they already left.
Yeah. Yeah. So I believe it was 2010. So my first Paralympic national experience, I fly all the way to Florida and I signed up just for the 100-meter race. And I just started training for it. I'd been training like just like the summer. Like I just found out about it. I found a good coach and I was like, all right, I'm going to just train for one event. And so I had flown over there with my family and everybody. And I eat breakfast and then I get back to my room and I'm getting ready, like changing, putting on my clothes. And I get a phone call from Coach Cruz and he says, dude, why'd you miss your race? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, my race is in 2 hours. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, your race was it just happened. I was like, what? And so I was like, there's no way, dude. Like, cause I remember taking a picture, like looking at the starting time and everything of the event the day before. And so I go back down there and I see the print off sheet, what time it was printed. It was printed out at 10 p.m. at night. And I was in bed. Like I had been disciplined. I was in bed. I was ready to go. And so I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I flew all the way over here and I missed my race. And so I was like, gosh, God, like this is crazy. Cause I've been like praying and asking, like wondering, like, what are you going to do when I go here? Like just being out of control and like allowing him to be in control and just focus on only what I can do. And I thought I was. And so I was like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, well, talk to Kathy Sellers. So I was like, okay, I don't even know who she is. Like, how do I talk to her? And he gave me her phone number. I called her. I was like, hey, like, this is what happened. Like, flew all the way over here. And so she was like, okay, well, come here and we'll just let you race. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, my anxiety, like nervousness is through the roof. And I drive there and I'm practicing. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, I can still do this. I could do this. And they're like, all right, you're going to race by yourself. I was like, okay. Like, I don't know that I have much choice right now. I'm seeing other people still racing the 100, but they're like, all right, you're going to race by yourself. And so I warmed up, I got ready, and sure enough, I'm in the blocks, and they say, like, gun goes off, boom, I go, and I run as hard as I can. And I did not make finals, needless to say. So that was my first Paralympic experience. And I was like, man, this is a tough first experience.
Yeah. But look where you've come. And now where do you stand in terms of the American record now? Do you still hold that record?
Yeah. So I've broken it a few times since then.
Yeah. Is your best now 7.56?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. And in terms of where you stand in the world heading into Tokyo, who are the guys you know who you have to beat? Who do you have to beat?
Man, there is. So the best part about it is guys are getting better and better. So my competition is continuing to increase their level. So there's a good handful of guys that I'm going to have to for sure beat. But number one guy is Marcus Rem. He's been the number one guy for the longest time, and I want to be the guy to beat him. No doubt.
Love it.
I want to be the first guy to beat him and contend for that first place. And I think it goes both ways. Like, I'm pretty sure he wants competition too. Like, he might not want to like lose, but like, we want the level of playing field to continue to get more and more and more competitive. And I've been seeing it through the past years. Like, guys are continuing to jump into the 7-meter range, and it's getting better and better every year. So there's two Germans that can jump far in 7 meters, and then there's a French guy as well, or like two French guys that can jump in the 7 meters. And then I'm not sure if the Russian is still competing, but there's about like 5 guys that I'm gonna have to contend with. 5 other guys.
Love it. Hey, Trenton. One, I know that the racing and jumping is great, but I know you're also one of those guys. You want that next generation to know.
Absolutely.
One of your goals is to have some kid who's sitting in a hospital bed right now, like you at the age of 14, who just lost his leg and doesn't know what's next. And you want to show him that this is where you can go.
100%. That's if I could revisit myself when I was in the hospital bed, I would encourage myself and be like, man, your whole future, you can't even dream it right now. It's going to be so amazing. And there's so much that you can do that you just aren't sure about yet, but never limit yourself. And I would love to for sure help other people and pursuing their dreams and passions, because I thought mine were taken away from me. And then it just took, like a few people just to encourage me. And so if I could be that for someone else, I would love to be.
Trenton, we love having you part of the CAF family, my man. It's great to have you on board. Love what you're doing, love what you represent, and can't wait to be in Tokyo and watch you with the gold medal around here. Because the thing is, if you're going to be on the podium, why be looking up at anybody, right? You might as well be looking down.
Man, you can't go out and fight without throwing some punches, man. Like, I'm going to go out there for gold medal. Like, no matter what, I think if you're going out there to compete, you go out there to win, no matter what. You don't go out there to get second, third, fourth, or anything. You're going out there to win. And no matter what, if you give 100%, wherever you end up on there, you can't be mad at yourself because you gave your all. But if you keep doing that, you're going to get better and better and better.
Love it. Hey, Trenton, thank you, buddy, for taking so much time. Really an honor to get to meet you through Challenged Athletes Live.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me part of your family.
I love it. Trenten Merrill's been our guest, Challenged Athletes Live. We'll catch you next time. Bye, Trenton.
All right. See you, Bob.